Speaking of pushing boundaries, I am reminded of a brilliant thought from the late Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, wisely stated, "The only way to discover the limits of the possible is to go beyond them into the impossible." That quote is not just a fancy line. It's the absolute mantra for what's happening in technology right now, especially in artificial intelligence. How many of you use ChatGPT or other AI tools for your projects, for your research, or even just for fun? Thank you. Trust me, it's not just about coding for scientists or making big corporations more efficient, but the true power of AI lies in its ability to open access and create opportunities for everyone. And to give you a glimpse into the dynamic products emerging from Microsoft, driven by powerful AI like Microsoft Copilot, helping you write essays, look at data for your projects, or design attractive slides for your presentations with just a few prompts. Think about how that could transform your study habits. And leading that charge, showing us how to leap into the impossible, is our esteemed guest today, Mr. Alok Lall, Senior Leader, Microsoft India and South Asia. As the Senior Leader, Mr. Alok has led marketing and operations for the region. He is part of the senior leadership team and drives the region's long-term growth, led for Microsoft to be the most trusted and innovative AI partner in India and South Asia. He has led a team of marketing and operations leaders who work to build awareness with customer stakeholders and improve sales performance within Microsoft and through its partner ecosystem. Mr. Alok has his team work closely with the product engineering teams to bring customer, partner, and developer feedback into the innovative process in the region. Mr. Alok cares deeply about accessibility and sustainability, and has spoken for Microsoft in several industry and business forums on these topics. He has over 27 years of experience as a technology and business leader, 25 years at Microsoft India, where he has demonstrated impact across a diverse range of business and technical roles. Mr. Alok has a BE Honours in Electronics and Telecom from the National Institute of Technology, Silchar, Assam. He enjoys listening to music and traveling with his family in his spare time. So, prepare to be amazed, because learning from someone who is actively crafting tomorrow's world right there at Microsoft is an opportunity you won't forget. This is your chance to explore what this means for your career, your potential startups, and the big problems you are eager to solve. Every question you have about AI's impact on your future and how you can join this technological revolution will be addressed. Please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Mr. Alok Lall.
All right, good morning. Thank you for the warm welcome, Vikram and team. I appreciate the opportunity to address this new cohort that's part of NorthCap. As was just called out as a part of my profile, 25 years at Microsoft, various roles, and yet I am as fresh as you are in the field of AI. So over the course of the next 40 to 45 minutes, I'm going to break the conversation into three parts. The first one is about what are the trends that we are seeing in AI, and if I go too deeply technical, or if I used to call it in engineering overhead transmission. Please do ask me questions at the end. So we'll talk about the trends in AI, and the next topic that I'd focus on is what are companies and what are leaders thinking about AI and therefore the talent required. And I'll end with the skills that I expect you to pick up as you choose your subjects, as you choose your projects, as you choose your internships, to be amongst the best that organizations need to hire compared to others in the market, because the competition is going to be intense. So let's get started. Now, the topics, like I said, what's brewing in the AI world, what are frontier firms and organizations that are really looking to be ahead of the curve on AI, and what skills do you need? So in November 2021, when ChatGPT essentially came out, the first time I tried it, and I'm sure the first time you would have tried it, you'd really been enamored by what's possible. And when I did that for the first time, I was reminded of this third law from Sir Arthur C. Clarke. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Because it was magic. It was as if I was speaking with someone that was a triple PhD for the questions that I wanted to ask. And that was really what AI had jumped into in making a massive leap towards generating text. But before we get down into generating text, how many of you can actually define AI? Oh, not a raise of hands even from the BTech folks? No, I'm just kidding. So let's look at how old AI is. And many of you may not be able to visualize the journey that AI has taken over the course of several decades. So if I were to define AI, this is really what I would look at. It started off in the early 50s when AI essentially was about a field of computer science that seeks to create intelligent machines that can meet or exceed human intelligence. That's just a very simple definition of what AI is all about. But then it moved into the next phase, which was machine learning. Again, in the 50s, the concept was first introduced, which is not just about exceeding human intelligence, but also about the fact that you could make computers do certain things by virtue of a pattern that they recognize without being explicitly told what to do. And so machine learning ended up being one of the domains that started to see the light of the day. However, we ran into what is called an AI winter. Funding stopped. People did not think that there was merit in working on AI, but research institutions continued to do that. And it was over the course of a couple of decades when computing capabilities increased and new algorithms start to come up, is when deep learning became popular. And deep learning was all about how do you think machines should operate the way humans think from their brains. And neural networks and other technologies started to come to the fore. But it's only in this decade that we started to look at what generative AI is. And by the definition of the name, generative is about generating text, audio, video, simulations, and so on, basis existing data, but written through prompts in your natural language. Now that we've gone through this era, the pace of change is really rapid. And so what we are now starting to see is transitioning from what we were at Microsoft in 1975 when we were formed as a software factory, as a technology that helped create software, to now moving toward what is called as an agent factory. And the term agent is going to be something that you need to imbibe, irrespective of whether you are an engineer or you're going to be an engineer, or someone who's actually going to use agent for their day-to-day work, whether you're an MBA or a BA or a BCom, it really doesn't matter. You need to really start to think about what agents are. And why do I say that? Is because for the first time, through the use of technology, computers are able to understand us in a way that we can ask them questions in English. They're able to infer the context and the intent of what that question is, be able to go back and research or look into the data that is already there, and be able to then understand what that response should be. Now, beyond the response, they are also able to do reasoning and planning. So that entire life cycle is now coming to life in many, many ways. So if I were to then define an agent for you, an agent is essentially the ability of AI to automate and execute business processes. So for those of you who've used ChatGPT, you ask a question, you get a response. But you need ChatGPT to be able to go do something, complete a task in an autonomous manner. And that's really what agents are essentially trying to do. So you have language models, which essentially help with the world's knowledge, and you now have action models, which work towards helping you complete a set of tasks. So an example of a set of tasks could be, how do I connect to Wi-Fi? If I ask that question, I should get a response saying, do these 5 things. But how do I connect to Wi-Fi at North Cap, and can you help me? Would be a task that you assign to an agent, which will understand your laptop or your phone's configuration and be able to go complete that set of activities. We are seeing agents do really complex scenarios, which is understanding not just about what's the environment, it could be about health and safety in a business, it could be about researching for a strategy basis external and internal data, and that is being used significantly in determining. So for those of you who used ChatGPT, you've played around with deep research, that is one such example of how agents are making a difference in everybody's lives. And the world actually sees this narrative come to impact in ways, many ways than one. IDC expects there'll be billions of agents. Those agents which are created by people who write code through Visual Studio or other tools, or even people who use simple commands to create an agent that can solve for problems around forecasting or simulation in Excel and so on. So billions of agents in just the next couple of years is what is the future. So that was the first part of where we're seeing the AI trends really shape very differently. The second area where we're seeing AI trends shape differently is physical AI. How many of you have seen the dance of the robots by Boston Dynamics or Tesla with Optimus? Many of you would have seen that. That's one example of what physical AI essentially is trying to do. So what physical AI is enabling is the fact that you've got a set of motors and the infrastructure that is used to create robots. But it is the AI that is helping those robots reason on whether it is causing harm, whether it's going the wrong way, whether it can afford to take risk, should it jump an obstruction, and so on. So in the field of robotics, this is a giant leap in helping not just businesses, but also people with disabilities, for example, use AI very differently. And that's what these agents are helping humans do better and orchestrate across a variety of industries. The third trend that is really starting to catch up is AI for science. An example, I'll give you 2 examples for that. The first one is about the challenge that we have on rare earth metals and the fact that it is a geopolitical issue. Now, using AI for science, AI can help understand physics, chemistry, and biology. I work with, or Microsoft works with a university in the US, which is called the Pacific Northwest Labs. And we've identified materials that use 70% less lithium in batteries. And so you can actually give a prompt in English to say, give me a compound that has this much boiling point, stable with this kind of chemicals, does not react to this material in the container, and is able to stay in a liquid state at this temperature. It'll give you a set of compounds that have a certain characteristics, and then you can go back into your labs and go test that out. Another example is climate modeling. So what should be the weather forecast for the next 10 days and the impact that it might have on, let's say, farming, or the impact related to logistics, or even defense, as an example. So you have an opportunity to take large weather data and be able to then do a much better forecast than the traditional methods that have been used. And the last pillar that I want to talk about is AI safety. So we've moved on from the world of hallucinations, where AI would write a fairy tale or give you a story that is so convincing that you believe that, hey, this happened in the past and it is history. But there is a lot of error or challenges that AI has just because of the base data that is gone in. An example of that is in a bank in Canada, when we analyzed their data, we found that men had a 17% higher chance of getting their loans approved than women. That's because the base data says no more men have applied for loans. And so you need to remove inherent biases in that data. You need to find ways to look at if the output that is coming out from AI has a gender bias or a racial bias, or is it causing harm? And so that's an opportunity that you need to look at from AI, and we're seeing these trends really start to show up in multiple ways. So 4 things that I talked about as a part of my first pillar, which is agentic AI, physical AI, AI for science, and the AI safety principles. So this is really where we at Microsoft are seeing patterns and trends show up as to what organizations are really investing in. Now, what do businesses really want out of AI? And that's a concept that I want to spend the next 10 minutes on. And the way every organization is looking at employment, or they're looking at the way they're making the change with AI, is through these 4 pillars. The first one is, how do I empower my employees? Just in the introduction, you were asked a question, how many of you are using ChatGPT? ChatGPT on the consumer side has certain rules where it can take your personal data and be able to use that to train their models. But an enterprise doesn't want that. Yet they want to give AI to every employee. And so how do I empower my employees to be able to go use AI and be able to make a difference, whether it's around communications, marketing, or for that matter, even around hiring? So in the past, I would have a bias about hiring people with disabilities or people with less experience. Can I do that? And that's something which you're starting to see significantly change. I don't necessarily need to hire a person from a certain location or a college and so on, but if I give them an AI assistant, things change, and I'll give you an example of that in just a bit. The second one is around, how do I engage with customers using natural language? Can I use translation with a high degree of accuracy and be able to engage with a customer in a customer service scenario? Can I understand a photograph that they've said about a device that is not working and be able to then infer what could possibly be wrong and thereby solving for issues later? Indigo or Air India are using chatbots to help drive the end-to-end life cycle of ticket booking. And 70% of the chat messages actually go to an agent that responds, including not just the flight plan, the itinerary, but also completing the transaction. The third area is around reshaping business processes. We're seeing that come very strongly. How do I cut down time? How do I reduce this, my supply time to get my goods to the end customer? And the innovation example of battery that I just gave to you is there. But the world is changing, and the example that I gave to you around agents is really what is now starting to shape up very strongly. The first one is this theme of what is called a frontier firm. The frontier firm is an organization that is using a combination of humans and agents to stand out in the market. Now, why do we need to deploy all of these? We've got humans, the humans bring in empathy, they bring in reasoning. Do I really need to think about agents? And the research that we've done across 31,000 employees, across 30,000 employees across 31 countries, and it's stark. People want to look at what is the role AI can play just to differentiate. So 82% of the leaders say 2025, they will rethink their strategy. 60% of the leaders are insisting that, productivity has to go up. So if I have 100 employees and they generate 1,000 crores of revenue, that 1,000 crores should go up, but I will not have more employees at the same pace. So I need to look at technology to be able to make an impact. And like that, there are multiple stats that are essentially describing the fact that organizations want to deploy agents to be able to make a difference. So I'll use this one slide to just articulate why this matters. The first one is intelligence is now available on tap. I don't have to wait to hire an individual, wait for 3 months for that individual to come on board, next 6 months for training, and then that individual is productive. I need to be able to do that as and when required. So it's almost like a Hollywood movie. You get the best director, the best actors, the producer, bring them up for a project, and then after that it gets disbanded. That's really what companies are going to work towards. If I need an expertise that cannot be done by a human, I will go in bringing that capability with intelligence on tap. An example of that is the photograph that you see here. For those of you who've done mechanical, understand some bit of mechanical engineering or have seen a boiler, you'll be able to possibly appreciate this. Now, I have 5 years of experience in mechanical engineering after I've done my work. I've been given this photograph. I may not know exactly what's happening, but if I'm able to provide this photograph to an AI agent, it can tell me what is the problem with this boiler, or what is the problem with heating, or what's the risk that I carry. So I don't need someone with 20 years of experience to be able to go help me look for what could possibly be wrong. Where is Microsoft headed in this direction is in this concept of providing an agent. So for those of you who've learned coding in school, or for those of you who are going to be part of writing code, Microsoft introduces a coding peer. So I can assign a task to my agent here in GitHub and say, write me an application or that will design a website for a retail company with these capabilities, this cart, shopping cart functionality, the ability to connect to a payment gateway, and the job gets done. I don't need to learn how to write code, but I need to be able to understand whether the code has been written right or not. That's the power that people are now going to utilize in cutting down time. So if you see TCS, Infosys, Wipro, they're all calling out in their annual reports or their quarterly results that I'm going to use agents to augment my human skills. And therefore, I need to be able to write and build those agents as a part of my process and offer it to my client. Just at Microsoft, to give you a perspective, 20% to 30% of the code is written by agents. Now, that obviously brings to life some of the other challenges that might exist, which is to say, what skills do I need to be able to be the one that companies look for? And that brings me to the third conversation that I would want to do. So what are the future skills that I need as an individual or someone who's sitting in the audience? What should I build on? Now, in my experience of working with businesses across the country, across industries, is AI is appearing to be a great thing to be talking about, to try something, to run what we call as a proof of concept, but rolling it out into production is becoming a huge challenge. Why is that? Because the understanding of what AI can or cannot do is not something that is available across a diversity of skills. Even from the best of colleges, we're struggling to see people who show up and are able to confidently understand what is it required to run an AI project or drive AI transformation. In earlier part of this year, PwC ran a survey from large company CEOs to say, what skills do you need in the organization? What do you need from people who are joining the firm to be able to provide new capability? So here's the feedback, an interesting set of feedback. CEOs believe AI is making a material difference to the way people operate. In fact, people with skills command a 56% higher wage compared to those who don't. They also believe that those who are investing in building their own skills and can spot opportunities to innovate are the ones that they would prefer, which means your ability to understand what AI can or cannot do in a domain or a horizontal scenario becomes critical. Companies are using AI to make workers valuable. Even in jobs that are at risk, if you have the ability to differentiate, you have an opportunity to earn more and be able to grow faster within the organization. And the last one is, skills sought by employees are changing 66% faster. So don't assume that the course that you're doing or the subject that you've picked up as a part of your 4-year or your 3-year degree are sufficient for you to get a job with one of the topics as AI in your curriculum. You need to be able to think about what those skills are and keep your head on the ground to understand what's the dynamics in the AI market that you need to be on top of. All right, so this morning I was listening to a video by Jensen Huang, who's the CEO of NVIDIA, and he spoke about 3 or 4 topics that I thought would be relevant for this audience. Sam Altman has already said that the day is not far where we'll have $1 billion company run by one person, because AI will empower that individual to do so much more and create and justify and build on that unique ideas. So there'll be more millionaires in 5 years than what internet created in 20. We are not moving fast enough to create new jobs with AI. AI taking away jobs, yes, there will be scenarios where certain types of jobs will have a very different profile, but we are not creating jobs fast enough to meet the demands of what organizations really need out of AI. Amplifying human creativity, the best ideas will win, not just the best technology. You can code all your life, but you will never be as successful as someone who's brought an idea that has a unique differentiator that is empowered by AI. And that's really visible in multiple instances of the startups that I've interacted with. It's not about just who can code better, but if I have an idea that stands out and is unique to my market or my cohort, that becomes bigger. And an example that he gave of Tesla is that when you build a product as a part of a company or as a part of your own startup, you have to think about as a 2-factory model. The first one is the product that you build and the AI behind. So you look at Tesla, for example, they build great cars, battery-operated cars, but what is differentiating them is the full self-drive. Their ability to navigate and support people of all types to take advantage, including now the robotaxi as a perspective. Those are really the ones that will stand out, and Waymo still is struggling to catch up to what Tesla can actually deliver. And hence, small teams can really drive massive impact. You may be a part of a large organization, but you really need to think very differently. If DeepSeek could challenge the largest AI companies like OpenAI, Meta, and others with the way they've designed their language models, anyone can do that. And so you need to figure out what is the relevant skills that come in the way to help you do that. So what are those skills? And I'm going to talk about that as the last section now. There are certain hard skills that I would encourage all of you to prioritize. Now, they may or may not be relevant for the course that you've signed up for, but you do need to know enough to be able to stand out in the market. The first one is you should know how to build an agent. You should know how to write code to build an agent, or you should know how to write a prompt to get an agent to do that. Can you build an agent in ChatGPT today? The answer is yes. So the free version also allows you to build agents, or if you have taken the pro version. So those of you who have an Airtel connection, some Airtel connections allow you to use Perplexity Pro. That's another example of what you could use to be able to build agents. Learn how to build agents. Now, LM stands for language models. Why do you need to learn language models? Is because if you're an MBA in finance, which model will help you get your forecasting right is something that you should be aware of. And likewise, those language models, whether they are large models or small models, you should have enough knowledge about being able to articulate that to your future employer about what matters most. And obviously, those who are in tech, who've taken up computer science, the AI infrastructure, how will GPUs operate, how will we think about governance of AI becomes critical. Do we need to know programming? If we can write using vibe coding, and I'm sure many of you do that, if we can write a piece of code just by writing a prompt, that's good enough. Unfortunately, no. You should know enough programming to be able to say whether AI has written the right code for you or not, and if it needs to be edited or modified. Now, does that mean you need to be a complex programmer? The answer is no, because there are multiple tools that are low code, no code, which essentially are simple prompts that you write and it automates the process for you. And there is a pro code, which is writing code in code editors like Visual Studio. But some knowledge of programming to have as a part of your arsenal. AI is essentially dead without data. if your data that you're providing within an organization is not good enough or not of high quality, is not classified right, you will be given an output which may not necessarily be the best for what your organization needs. So the data for AI and the ability to clean that data for AI, be able to analyze, is a significant skill that should be universally allowed. If you don't want to get into any of these, then your fluency of using AI tools is going to be critical. An example of that is deep research. If I'm able to use deep research well, it's an option available to me. But if I don't ask the right question, if I don't frame the problem statement right, I may be missing out on this. And I can assure you, in the next job interview that you get to, you will be asked about your fluency on prompting. So if there is something that you can pick up within the university or as an online course, please do pick up the art of prompting, because that is a critical skill. For those of you picking up a vertical or a domain like manufacturing or financial services, your ability to understand how the market operates and therefore the role of AI becomes even more critical. There are many success stories that you can pick up around how, let's say, an Aditya Birla Financial Services is using AI, or in healthcare, how Apollo Hospitals is building a clinician's co-pilot to help doctors cut down the time it takes to diagnose a disease, and therefore what is the role AI is playing in helping them understand, helping the doctors understand what could be the possible probabilities of a particular disease, which could be life-threatening. That's another example. Trustworthy AI and AI for cybersecurity, if that's the domain that you want to get to for either compliance or for risk assurance as a part of your MBA, or even when you're thinking about writing code that reduces the amount of security risks, or in cybersecurity, if you want to look at how do I mitigate threats using AI, that's one skill that you could possibly pick up. And the last one, depending upon how deep you want to get to, is around AI for science. Remember, the fact that AI has cut down the access to large volumes of data to help take decisions, especially around weather or around chemicals and molecules, is going to be a huge one. So some of these skills I'd encourage you to pick up. The more you are able to stand out and differentiate with these hard skills, the better it'll be for you as you think about your jobs. But soft skills don't go away. Creativity is going to be one critical aspect of how you stand out. If you remember the quote from Jensen Huang, it said that we are going to look at people who are able to amplify creativity of 100x. That's really what needs to be the case. So what do we need to do is to essentially look at how do we get critical thinking to be in a place. If you've done or read about any books around systems thinking, or if you've pick up Elon Musk's autobiography, you'll hear about how he's applying systems thinking to everything that he does, whether it's the design of engines at SpaceX or Tesla or the Boring Company. It's a great book that I'd encourage you to read. A part that we're seeing a lot of people miss out is problem formulation. Remember, I'm not saying problem solving. That you have AI. But the ability to form a perspective of what is the right problem to solve is going to be critical in the way you approach any of the things that I've listed as a part of the hard skills. Effective communications. We are seeing three places where AI and effective communication is really coming there. The first one is marketing. How do you target the right audience? Second is, how do you teach AI to people who don't know AI? And how do you solve for asking, helping them understand what is the role AI can play to a diversity of audience? And the third area is research papers and articulation of strategies. So those are areas where communications and our ability to articulate that to the right teams becomes critical. And then there are situations around conflict management, adoption, being adoption champions for AI, and ethical decision making and policy. Those are avenues where it is tough for people to believe that what AI is recommending is really the right thing. So are you able to support ethical decision making? Is the output from AI the right one? But none of these will work if you don't put curiosity and continuous learning as a part of your daily habit. For someone who's been doing AI for the last 1 year, when you start today, you can be as fast as that individual, because the pace of change for AI is really, really rapid. And so you can walk into that stream and be able to still make a difference about the role AI can play. That said, not everything is commercial. Sometimes we have a passion. We would like to make an impact to the society that we operate in. And I want to talk about two examples here. The first one is Karya. It's an NGO that essentially is providing women and people below poverty line in remote villages access to improved quality of life by earning using an AI-related requirement. How many of you heard of Scale.ai? Have you heard recently Scale.ai in the news? It's one of Facebook's largest acquisitions. And it's about annotations, and it's about identifying objects or images and so on. That's what Karya does. Karya is allowing people with a phone to record their voice samples from a piece of text that's been given to them, identify an object and write it in their own local language, and validate somebody else's work. And with that, they're giving at least 15 to 20 times the minimum wage that people earn in India. So much so that women in the household are earning more than the men, and they're getting that dignity in the household, which they probably did not get. So that's one example of how AI is being democratized to get to every citizen in the country. The second area that I want to share with you is some of the work that we're doing on improving yield per acre in agriculture. So by using AI to understand soil moisture, whether there are pests, whether there are nutrients in the soil, when should the harvesting happen, when should sowing happen, we've been able to increase the yield per acre, we've been able to increase the quality of the products, especially sugarcane in partnership with Agri Development Trust in Baramati. And that's one massive scale impact that for a country like India, it could be. So it's not just about commercial impact and salaries and money that you can make, but it's also about the social impact that you can drive if you are invested in pursuing your passion and use AI to scale in India. So these are the three topics that we covered today. The role that AI is playing in shaping trends in the world today, what businesses are looking for, and as they become frontier firms, how they think about the role humans plus agents are going to play, and the skills that I believe would be required. So as you start to shape your career, as you step into NorthCap, you should be thinking about, here are the skills that I need to look at. Here is the kind of internships that I should strive for. Here is the kind of projects that I could look at. Here's the opportunity to build both hard and soft skills, or even make an impact to the society we live in. With that, I want to thank you for your time. We'll open it up for questions. I see a hand at the back. You can shout it out if you need to. Okay. Yeah, great.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
My name is Jason. I'm a first-year student here. I'm pursuing BCA Game Development.
Lovely.
So if you don't mind, I got two questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, so my first question was related to, sir, like the upbringing of AI. Sir, we see every day nowadays, when you open YouTube, you see like a million videos, all created just using AI. You put in a prompt, they create a video like a car, a concept car which doesn't exist.
Right.
And that earns 10,000,
Likes.
100,000 views, simply like that, just by using one prompt. Whereas some guy who's creating most of his content by himself, using his own voice, using his own editing, so he only gains like half of those views. Sir, and this is just one example. There are so many different examples where AI is being used and it's getting way more recognition, being way more successful than normal, conventional ways of creating content. So, sir, I wanted to know what's your opinion. Do we need to safeguard these AI and their abilities so that we can at least safeguard the jobs of people so that they don't take the jobs of everyone?
So, great question. It's not just about the videos in YouTube, any social media that you open up. You would see, and you'll find it difficult to differentiate between whether the videos actually the persona that is shown is actually human or is AI generated. There is enough work that is going on from a policy standpoint around how should we think about content that is AI generated, how is it watermarked in a manner that it can be identified as AI generated. That said, I always give an example of if I want to create an Amul ad, which you see on the posters, which is so topical, how much time do I need to go create that? I need to land a message, I need to be seen as a brand, and my brand guidelines allows me to be able to go do that. Organizations will go towards AI to be able to go solve for it. Now, the ethics behind AI is, and the ability for people to use AI to do something which, let's say, advertising agencies took such a long time to go build, it's going to be a fundamental change of business model. Yes, ethics will come in the way, and there are people who are saying that I will only go with these kind of capabilities, but your competitors are not going to do that. So you need to be able to use judgment to say what part do I offload to AI to create versus the part that I would have real actors or real voices to be able to go do. A lot of people so for example, Denmark has essentially passed a legislation whereby your voice and your face sample cannot be used by AI without your permission. And so you'll see many of these come into place, but is there something that is a worldwide rule or a policy? Unfortunately, no. It's AI is changing the rules of the game. The business model requires you to operate in a high-paced market, and they will businesses will use whatever tool that they can to be able to be successful.
Yes, sir. My second question was it's a bit unconventional, but it's like suppose someone is from B.Tech and someone is from BCA. Sir, so I wanted to know, because since you're from Microsoft, sir, who would you rather prefer? Will BCA students get placement in Microsoft?
So what's fascinating, like I told you, is, in fact, I had it on a slide, that organizations are stepping away from formal degrees, provided you have the competency and are able to demonstrate that you are able to deliver the job as defined in the job description. So we have instances of people who, we hire people, we've been hiring people who are B.Tech, but that does not necessarily become a criteria for us to be only selecting B.Tech, because we are seeing a world that has changed dramatically. We are looking at people who are part of startups, for example, who've demonstrated critical thinking to build a product and differentiate in the market, and now they want to come to a large organization. We are actively looking at profiles of those types. So there is no base criteria. Your AI skills and competency and your ability to demonstrate some of the soft skills are critical for us to make a decision around it. Okay, there's one here at the front row.
Good morning, sir.
Good
My
morning.
name is Aditi Avasthi, and I'm pursuing MBA in Business Analytics.
Okay.
So I wanted you to share your opinion on the topic, like how will AI have its impact on businesses that are coming forth in the future, and like is there a possibility that it will impact people and the offices as well, because we see most of them are switching to work from home, and there's like a lot of impact on the business scenarios as of now. So what is your opinion on that?
So if I understand your question, you're saying what is the role AI will have specific to the way, is it related to culture? Is it related to operations? Related to
the operations.
Okay. So many organizations right now who had a work from home policy are asking people to come back to work. A couple of years ago, we had Trevor Noah who come to our campus, and there was this question that was just after COVID, and we had somebody who would stand up and say, ask a question which is, you know what, we had such a good life working from home, why are you asking us to come to work? And his response was, when people come, one of the things that you don't realize is when you're working, when you come together, you actually laugh. And laughter is typically missing from video calls. You unmute when you have to ask a question, and you mute thereafter. So the fun and the camaraderie and the ability for people to bond is missing when you are working from home. And that is impacting organization culture. So most organizations that you would hear are going back to the policy of asking people to spend at least 3 to 4 days at a workplace and maybe 1 or 2 days at home. So operations wise, and the need for people to build these bonds and be able to participate and collaborate by seeing each other face to face is now becoming an inherent part of every organization's policy. So you would see, even though there are scenarios like I want an interpreter, so I'm speaking with someone who's from a different country, I'll use AI to be able to go do that. I want to transcribe a meeting, I will use AI, but I will be sitting in the same room with people, yet use AI to be able to go transcribe a meeting, define action item and minutes and so on. So you see operations being significantly benefited from the role of use of AI, but the opportunity to get people to an office continues to be there. There will be some radical organizations who will still say work from home is good enough, just because it just is expensive to own a real estate or rent a real estate in any of the major cities. So they will continue to apply that policy, but those that have already established, they are asking people to come back to work.
Thank you, sir. So one last question.
Sure.
So being from a business analytics background, what kind of roles can one expect in the Microsoft Corporation?
Okay. So a business analyst role, I would say without AI is going to be a challenge. And I will be upfront. So when I go to meet customers and say, I want to create a dashboard about the organization's performance and sales and so on, typically an organization would say my IT team takes 3 to 4 weeks to create a dashboard. Today I can create a dashboard in 50 seconds because I can give a prompt in English, say give me these parameters, and I want that to be always updated with the right comparison, make it with the right look and feel, and summarize what the charts are saying in a piece of text. That is always there on the dashboard. Whenever I refresh it, the text that is summarized or the analysis shows up. Now, the part where you should be thinking about your own skills is not about generating that data, because the data already exists. But your ability to infer, interpret, contextualize, look at multiple perspectives of internal data and external market conditions is really where you would stand out. Please think of AI as your superpower and don't challenge AI, because it'll be a tough battle to win. So when you think about your own courses, as you think about the way you, like I described, your internships or projects that you do, look at what role AI is playing in helping define those analysis. As an example, a stark example of what's coming up is how do you prepare strategy papers or an organization's 3-year growth plan. And your ability to use deep research, combining data and asking the right question to AI is going to be critical in helping you formulate your own differentiation.
Thank you, sir.
Right? There's one here. Go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I am Sejal, a first-year student here in
Okay.
BTech CSC.
Great.
So I wanted to know that what were your biggest challenges and rewards of transitioning from a long career in advertising to leadership role in Microsoft?
Yeah, so thankfully, I wasn't more in marketing than advertising. Microsoft gives you the ability to really jump careers or professions, as what we call it internally. But what it expects you to do is to look at your existing strengths and be able to bring it to life in your new roles. So the opportunity to learn, for example, operations was something that I wasn't as good at. It was more of marketing and customer outreach and understanding trends and patterns about what competitors are doing. That, coupled with the skills through stretch projects, is what helped me build the right competence. And I would look at, if of the 5 skills that any role would require, I'd walk in with at least 2 or 3 and then learn the other 2. So, and for me, the last 25 years has really been a fun ride. And I expect that for anyone who's walking into jobs for the first time, you need to look at with what open mind can you go about bringing certain strengths to the table, because nobody will hire you without those strengths. Yet, demonstrating the vulnerability that you need to be able to go learn the next 2 or 3 that are required.
Thank you, sir.
Ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
I'm Dr. Arunima. First of all, thank you, sir. It was a great talk by you. Thank you so much. Sir, I'm simply curious to understand your take on, in future, say 5 years down the line, will AI create more jobs for all of us, or is it going to take away more jobs? So being an expert, what's your take on this?
So, are you asking the job as a professor or a lecturer or
Sir,
as a...
in general, you know,
okay.
whatever, like it's more
So-
conducive for the students.
So I'm not going to sugarcoat this. AI will reshape jobs. Some reshaping will take away jobs. Like, for example, copywriting is becoming redundant. Certain tasks that did automation or creation of documents or processing of documents is becoming redundant. And there are other jobs that are being reshaped by virtue of the fact that AI is providing to be a very potent weapon in the arsenal. So contracts, for example, or legal, you might assume there's a lot of text and paperwork that is done, and you need legal expert. But with an ally for any legal analyst or a lawyer, they're able to ingest and digest large volumes of content and be able to question the document or the judgment or the submission that they filed in court and so on. So certain jobs will get amplified by virtue of this. New jobs that are starting to come up is AI strategists, data scientists and engineers, because in the past, it used to be the domain of a set of people who understood data. But now with all kinds of data, whether it's structured or unstructured, the need for data that makes AI better is becoming even more critical. And the last one is around, even things like English. My daughter's picked up English as her major in one of the universities in this area. And the day she decided was the day ChatGPT came out. And I said, why do you pick up English of all things? You don't need English. And while I was frustrated at that time, but as I went about over the course of the last 6 to 8 months, I'm realizing that English is going to be an increasingly powerful skill. Because if you can't ask the right question, or if you can't frame the right question, which is why problem formulation and critical thinking, those jobs will, if you have those skills, any job that is tied to AI will be yours for the taking. So yes, jobs are going to get impacted. If you believe you're going to do just the course and the curriculum, which is also getting modified and upgraded on a regular basis, it's not going to be enough.
Thank you, sir.
Like I said, I won't sugarcoat. Okay, thank you for your time. I hope you found this valuable.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for inspiring us to look beyond the impossible and for showing us the incredible opportunities that lie ahead. It's interesting to know we can reshape processes and bend the entire on innovations. At the same time, it's quite helpful to know what hard and soft skills require for AI era. Mr. Lall, your vision and insight into the future of AI and Microsoft's role in it have been truly amazing. To our bright students, thank you for your keen attention and active participation. It's clear that the future of technology is in very capable hands, and your questions showed just how eager you are to be a part of this revolution. Now it's time to take a group photograph.